In 1908, FIFA was part of the Olympics, elected to the organizing committee for the Olympic football, replacing the Football Association England, or FA. Although the original purpose of the founding of FIFA was to accommodate international football, until several years standing, FIFA still doesn't have its own World Cup tournament, and most time are just busy being on the organizing committee for Olympic football. And during that time, everything that FIFA does must be in agreement with the wishes of the Olympics, because it's not completely own FIFA tournament until 1930, in Uruguay, Montevideo, FIFA can starting its own World Cup tournaments, what we know so far.
Uruguay World Cup, 1930, was a big new start in international football, because starting now, international football is no longer within the confines of the Olympics. The reason is, the Olympics at that time were still under a strong culture of amateurism, only allowing amateur players and mostly prohibiting professional players from participating. Meanwhile, FIFA wanted professional football players to be able to participate but was prohibited. Until 1914, FIFA must agree to recognize the Olympic tournament as a World Football Championship for amateurs. Sports amateur was a closely guarded ideal in the 19th century. Amateur sports are sports in which participants engage largely or entirely without remuneration. Because in the past, it was still closely related to middle-class people and upper-class people, who has a lot of free time to take part and practice in sports, whereas, it was difficult for the working class to take part in sports, as it was restricted by the long 6-day work week. One way for the working class to be able to participate in sports is join with professional football club or being professionals who get paid for the daytime spent for competing and training, without the stress of having another job. Before the 1930 FIFA World Cup in Uruguay, FIFA has made several attempts to organize football tournaments for professional football players, outside the framework of the Olympics. The first was, in 1906, in Switzerland, the second in Torino, Italy, 1908, and in 1909, the FIFA's first international football inter-clubs tournament, Sir Thomas Lipton Trophy, which was held in Turin, Italy. This Sir Thomas Lipton Trophy often is regarded as an early European trophy, but by FIFA itself, this tournament is often considered unsuccessful tournament, because, after that, the tournament stopped, and there was no continuation.
But, after failing several times, finally, at the 1930 FIFA World Cup in Uruguay, FIFA and professional football are in the right direction, because after this FIFA World Cup and professional football will go to growing, getting bigger, and getting more larger. In the middle of the world economic crisis.
But, at that time, in 1930, not the right time, because the world was run into a Great Depression. This was an event of the longest and deepest economic downturn, and most widespread in the 20th century. More than 13 million people were unemployed. This depression destroyed the economies of both industrialized and developing countries. Rural areas that live from agriculture have also been affected, because prices for agricultural products have fallen up to 60%.
Made the 1930 FIFA World Cup in Uruguay is a tumultuous and most difficult World Cup tournament.
At the FIFA Congress May 1929, in Barcelona, Spain, less than 4 months before the Great Depression began in September 1929, Uruguay was selected to host the FIFA World Cup 1930 without voting, because Hungary, Netherlands, Sweden, Spanish, and Italy, who also bids to host the 1930 FIFA World Cup, withdraw before FIFA Congress in Barcelona begins.
Towards the FIFA World Cup begins.
Towards the FIFA World Cup begins, many teams from European continent were reluctant to make long journey, up to 2 weeks across the Atlantic Ocean, to South America. Until 2 months before the FIFA World Cup begins, there is still no entry from the European team entered. This also because of the economic crisis that is still happening in Europe. This dangerous situation getting FIFA president at that times Jules Rimet and newly crowned King Carol II to step in until 4 European teams, Belgium, France, Romania, and Yugoslavia, want to take part, and take a trip to Uruguay. Meanwhile, 2 teams from Asia, Japan, and Siam, or now is Thailand, withdraw, and the only 1 team from Africa that entered, Egypt, cannot attend, due to being delayed by a storm in the Mediterranean, and be left behind a ship to Uruguay. In addition from host, Uruguay, the other countries that succeed to take part in the 1930 FIFA World Cup, Uruguay, is Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, United States, Chile, Peru, Bolivia, and Paraguay. In this first FIFA World Cup, all participants attended by invitation without qualification. This is the only FIFA World Cup without qualification process, but, after this, until now, every FIFA World Cup participant must follow the qualification process, except for the country chosen to host the FIFA World Cup, which automatically passes without qualification. Although the United Kingdom, England, Scotland, Wales, and Ireland, which at that time was already Northern Ireland, has resigned from FIFA for reasons of war, but the Uruguayan Football Association or AUF, still sends an invitation letter to the Football Association or FA, as a sign of respect for where the football that is played comes from, but due to the situation at that time, the FA committee rejected the invitation, and chose not to participate in the 1930 FIFA World Cup. Organizing a tournament as big as the World Cup is not an easy job. In addition, around the world was currently being hit by one of the heaviest and most difficult economic crises of the 20th century. But, the Uruguay national team managed to pay off this difficulty, by being able to win the FIFA World Cup in their own country, by beating Argentina in the final 4-2. And, Uruguay's victory was even more complete because at that time, it also coincided with the celebration of the centenary of the Uruguayan Constitution, or, the 100th anniversary of Uruguay's independence. The Uruguay national team itself, is not a canned national team, because previously, the Uruguay national team, was the national team that won consecutive gold medals, at the Amsterdam Summer Olympics, 1928. And gold medalist at the Paris Summer Olympics, 1924.
After the first World Cup 1930.
After big success in Uruguay 1930, FIFA decided to drop out of the Olympics, in a bid to promote its own World Cup tournament. So, that in the 1932 Los Angeles Olympics the sport was abolished, but, at the 1936 Berlin Olympics, Germany succeeded in bringing football back to the Olympics, with lure will provide more income to the organization, with the same players model as before, the amateurs players not professional players.
Olympic 1948 until 1980.
In Olympic 1948 until 1980, almost all Olympic tournaments including football were dominated by the Soviet Union and its satellites, because these communist bloc countries inserting Olympic teams who are players or athletes with the status of students, soldiers, or workers, or technically they were amateur, but in reality, most of them have been paid by the government to training in full-time, similar like professional. On the other hand, along with increasing time and the increasing popularity of the FIFA World Cup, the gap in quality between the FIFA World Cup and the Olympics football is becoming increasingly apparent, as professionalism spreads around the world. In 1984, or 54 years after the first FIFA World Cup, the IOC or International Olympic Committee decided to accept players with professional status after IOC President Avery Brundage retired in 1972, and the rules for amateurism at the Olympics were increasingly loosened. But, it was too late. To avoid competition with the FIFA World Cup, FIFA has limited the participation of its star players and elite players in the Olympic tournaments with various rules, especially from countries that come from the strongest FIFA confederations like UEFA for the European region and CONMEBOL for the South American region, which are frequent subscribers to the FIFA World Cup. The FA involvement. After rejoining FIFA in 1946, In 1974, the FA removed the distinction between amateur and professional football and stopped participating in the Olympics. Although since 1984 FIFA had allowed professionals in the Olympics, the FA did not re-enter, as the home nations were concerned that a unified British Olympic team would set a precedent that could lead FIFA to question their separate status in other FIFA competitions.
On July 18, 1983,
Estadio Centenario Uruguay, built specifically for the 1930 FIFA World Cup, declared by FIFA a monument to the history of world football, and is listed as one of the classic stadiums of FIFA football world. On July 18, 1983, many of the first FIFA World Cup matches in 1930 were played in here, including the first World Cup final between hosts Uruguay and Argentina. To this day, the Estadio Centenario is the only one building to achieve this recognition worldwide. This stadium referred to by Jules Rimet, the third FIFA president, as a temple of football.
The first FIFA World Cup final.
Because it is still new and there is still no official sponsor for their ball, there are two types of balls used in the first FIFA World Cup final. This is due to each of the finalists of the first FIFA World Cup, Argentina and Uruguay, carry their own versions of the ball. To avoid disputes, FIFA decides in the first round using the ball from Argentina, and in the second round using the ball from Uruguay.
Present day.
In present day, the FIFA World Cup is one of the biggest sporting competitions in the world ever made. In some aspects, the FIFA World Cup is already much bigger than the Olympics. As mentioned in FIFA official site, the 2022 FIFA World Cup final between France and Argentina, which was watched by nearly 1.5 billion pairs of eyes around the world. This is a much larger number than any event during the Olympics spanning in one single day. And now, FIFA World Cup. More than a simple football match, which is not made with money, where new innovations and strategies in football emerge frequently, with passion because of their nationality, and the honor of their country.
Are you agree with this video? Or, you have your own story about the FIFA World Cup? Let me know in below. Thank you so much for watching Football Explained until the end. See you the next time. Bye.